What's going on, guys? It's Jimmy here. We got a possible coup, a possible takeover attempt here in Russia by the head of the Wagner Group, and he's possibly going to try to take over against Vladimir Putin. That's right here. Take a look, and I'll show you what's happening here. Putin is at risk of losing his iron grip on power. The next 24 hours are critical. That's right here. Mercenaries' chief forces advance towards Moscow as Putin's harsh punishment for rebellion leaders. Putin is not happy on this. Yevgeny Prigozhin, the mercenary chief, is urging an uprising against Russia's generals, even though he has long ties to Putin. Take a listen here to what is happening.
Russia. President Vladimir Putin is accusing the Wagner mercenary group of an armed rebellion, and he warns that those involved will be punished.
The head of the Wagner group, Yevgeny Prigozhin, says his forces have taken control of Russian military facilities in the region of Rostov-on-Don. He threatens to move on to Moscow if Russia's top general and defense minister don't meet him.
Again, we came here. We want to receive the Chief of General Staff and Shoigu. Until they aren't here. Until they aren't here, we will be located here, blockading the city of Rostov, and we'll go to Moscow.
President Putin calls the actions by Prigozhin a betrayal and a stab in the back to the Russian people, and he says those who follow him will pay the price.
All those who deliberately chose the path of treachery, who prepared an armed mutiny, who chose the path of blackmail and terrorist methods will face inevitable punishment and will answer both to the law and to our people.
We're following all of the developments on what's happening in Russia with our reporters and analysts around the world this morning. So let's start there with the latest on what's happening in Russia right now.
CNN Chief International Security Correspondent Nick Payton-Walsh is tracking the developments for us. What is happening right now?
We've never seen anything like this in Putin's Russia before. Quite unprecedented territory, a direct threat to his grip on power for 23 years. Now, at this stage, we are checking to see if the Wagner forces you heard about that are in Rostov, seen on the streets there, casually relaxed around key buildings. Remember, this is a military hub for the Russian war in Ukraine and forces across that southern region, to see if these forces are indeed trying to move, as they say they are, in the direction of Moscow. There are suggestions from some of their supporters that they may have got into the city of Voronezh, kind of halfway on the highway up towards Moscow. That is not confirmed and indeed denied by Kremlin-backed officials in that area. But at the same time, too, the governor of Voronezh has said that combat measures by the Russian military have indeed begun. That will be a suggestion that the Russian military are indeed taking on Wagner. Now, it's unclear the size of the Wagner force that has moved, but this all began on Friday with an extraordinary series of statements by their leader, Yevgeny Prigozhin, essentially taking issue with the entire cause of Russia's war in Ukraine, saying that essentially Russians had been deceived and there wasn't a threat from NATO. Russians were not being persecuted. That was suddenly, it seemed, responded to by claims of an airstrike against a Wagner camp, probably inside of Ukraine. That's been denied by the Russian Ministry of Defense, but it's put into place this extraordinary series of events of Wagner forces, it seems, being taken from Ukraine and marching on a Russian military hub, Rostov-on-Don, and now it seems heading further. And the important thing to note here is, while perhaps Yevgeny Prigozhin may have begun all of this as a bid to take on the top brass of Russia's military, the defense minister Sergei Shoigu and Gerasimov, the chief of staff, now running that operation. It's now clearly him against Vladimir Putin. He's been utterly clear in his most recent statement that he thinks the president is mistaken to suggest this is a betrayal, and Putin was very clear that those who are now behind this insurrection have chosen the path of blackmail and terrorist methods and will face inevitable punishment. A suggestion in that speech from Putin, if you want to lay your arms down, there might be some succor, but frankly, straight up here, he was saying, we're going to put this down. The question is, can he? And how long does this go on for? Every hour essentially calls into question Putin's control of Russia, and more importantly, possibly too, for the world, quite how the war in Ukraine will play out in the hours ahead.
Wow, yeah. Honestly, we've seen this bubbling up here over the last several days, but who could have seen this coming before that? Yeah, and who would have thought that maybe the end of the war could possibly come this way? Or maybe the end of Putin or the end of Putin's reign could possibly come this way? Now, we don't know if this is going to happen, if this will end up happening this way. We also don't know if this is a false flag type of event, if this is something that Russia is planning. I'm actually starting to believe it. I'm actually starting to believe that this is possibly a takeover type of event. Now, at this point, that doesn't mean that they got me fooled. We'll see. Now, honestly, I don't think that if they are fooling us or fooling the world, that it's not like we're like, hey, let's let our guard down and all of Ukraine and the rest of the world put your arms down in case they're fooling us, right? Um, but I do think that this is a real takeover type of event. We'll have to see how far they take it or what comes of it. Are they going to march on Moscow? Could this be the end of the war? Or will it just be a status quo change? Or will nothing come of it? It's very, very interesting because the Wagner Group boss, Yevgeny Prigozhin, he is actually saying that the start of the war was not actually legitimate, that Putin basically drummed it up. Ukraine wasn't going to attack Russia, and Putin basically just caused the war for false flag type of events so that they could go in there and do their own bidding and try to take over the country. And honestly, I really feel like that's what a lot of people think. Putin wanted to take over the country so that he could get the land, he could get the resources, he could get the money, and put back old Russia, the old USSR, put it back to the way it was, reclaim the old former glory. And whatever, type of excuse you need to make of it, it is what it is, right? We'll call them Nazis, we'll call them it is what it is. Oh, they're a threat to us, but no matter what it is, we just want to kind of take any land we can, take the resources and or put back old Russia and reclaim the former glory and get this larger type of, country back to the way it was. The larger we are, the more powerful we are. That's where we want to be. We want to be more powerful as opposed to less powerful. We were able to take Crimea. This is Putin's way of thinking, right? We were able to take Crimea. That was a success. Let's try it again. This time we'll try it with a larger portion. He's probably looking at Ukraine as weak. They just literally let us take Ukraine or let us take Crimea. Let's try it again. This time it didn't really work so well. Yeah. So let me know your thoughts here in the comments. I'll keep you up to date here. Make sure to click that subscribe button if you haven't yet, and the like button for us. Share these videos. Here's some videos you should watch next. Click here to see Putin's nuclear alert, or click here to see Biden's new executive order. Thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you in the next video.